What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Geeks and Company and another episode of the After Show. That's right. We are talking today about Star Trek Strange New Worlds Season 2, Episode 4. What's the title again?
Among the Lotus Eaters.
There you go. My buddy Jeff over here. How's it going, Jeff?
Hi. Oh, wonderful. How are you?
I'm doing good. Another episode of Strange New Worlds.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think of this episode?
Initial
thoughts.
See, here's the problem. Every week we do this. You do the intro, and then you ask me what I thought of it first, and then I tell you, and then you like tennis smash it back in my face with whatever your opinion is. So we're going to do a little reverse-a-roo here.
Yeah.
What are your initial thoughts of this episode, JS?
So this was a good episode for me. It wasn't an excellent episode. We've had excellent episodes of Star Trek. This was, for me, about an average episode. The acting was fine. I like that we got finally a Pike centric episode. I love that they went back to is it Rigel 7? Mm-hmm. From the cage.
I was just gonna say, let the viewers know
if you don't know, Star Trek first started in 1962.
6, I believe.
The pilot was in 66? Whatever.
Yes.
The first pilot of Star Trek was called The Cage, and it featured Captain Pike in number 1 and Science Officer Spock, and which is what this whole show, Star Trek Strange New Worlds, is based on. In the episode The Cage, they go to Rigel 7. Crew member dies, somebody else gets injured, blah, blah, blah. Well, you find out in this episode, because they go back to Rigel 7, and you find out that that crew member isn't actually dead. And it creates a whole chain reaction of events that leads them all to lose their memories and not knowing who they are. And that whole bit I thought was a little like, okay, like I don't know. It was a decent episode. I liked where they went with it. Did it really push any characters forward? Pike a little bit. Pike had a little bit of personal development. Going back to what we talked about in the first episode in the second episode with him and what's her name again? Captain
Batal,
I believe.
Batal. Yeah.
So they developed that relationship a little bit more in this episode. So we got to see a little bit more behind the eyes of Pike. But overall, it was just another episode. It wasn't anything great. It wasn't anything that made me super emotional. It wasn't anything that had me cheering. It was an okay episode. What about you?
I think we're on the same page. I might have liked it a little bit more than you did, probably because of how central Pike ended up being. It finally gave him a chance to shine. And among my favorite characters on the show is Erica Ortegas, and she got her moment to shine as well. Not in her own episode, but the whole I'm Erica Ortegas and I fly the ship. That's pretty cool. Like, it's so basic, but it's pretty cool. And she kept on chanting it, and then she did the narration at the end, and that's how she ends it. I'm getting goosebumps thinking she
did the narration at the beginning as well.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
It starts with her getting into costume, getting ready to go on this away mission, and then they're like,
finally.
And we gotta fly the ship through this like asteroid belt. We kind of need our pilot here, and she's like, like, finally get to go on an away mission, and now you're making me stay on board. Like,
So I did like that with Erica, and I did feel that you were mentioning character development. Obviously, we got a huge character development arc with Pike, and the Heavy is the head that wears the crown, and they made a good point at the end. Like, only another Starfleet captain is really going to get what it is to be like a Starfleet captain and where your priorities lie. Everybody else is going to feel second best because they are. My ship and my crew come first. Everything else comes second. So that little tete-a-tete was cool. It was nice to get into their heads a little bit. Again, same thing. Like, it's really telegraphed. Like, he breaks up with her for some spurious reason. Una's like, "Are you stupid? Stop doing that shit. You do this every time." He goes to the planet, loses his memory, but still has the necklace that she gave him. By the way, he changes all the rest of his clothes, but he keeps this fucking necklace on when he goes down to the planet because it's old, I guess, so maybe it looks like it goes. I don't know. And the whole time, he's just clutching at it like a life preserver, and he just fell off the Titanic. And then at the end, he's like, "Well, that made me realize I actually love you, and we need to give this a..." All of that was very televised. Like, you knew that's exactly what was going to happen. So that took something away from me. You're right. Personal growth from Pike for sure. But the fact that was just so like laid out for us so blatantly obvious. I was just like I know why you're doing that, but like, I'm a fucking adult, man. Like, can't they just break up if they just break up? Breakup happens all the time. People break up.
Mm-hmm.
Someone's breaking up right now. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, let them break
Yeah,
up.
100%.
We're gonna have this. Yeah. So I didn't love that. And the other thing I wanted to mention too, when they first go down to the planet, it's him, Mabenga, and La'an. And La'an is having the freak up. By the way, when she started getting the earring and losing time, did you think it had something to do with the time travel episode? When it was happening to La'an first?
So the first thing I thought when she realizes, wait a second, what do you mean 6 hours away? Like she lost 6 hours in seconds. I was like, is there like some remnants of? I was like, what's going on here? Is there like timey-wimey fuck ups now that are
Okay.
starting to happen because of the
Same.
damn watch?
I thought so first. That's what I was like,
But that
oh,
was
not the case.
Yeah, not the case at all.
But I do want to say, when they are, before they get to the actual encampment, when they're like walking through the whatever, that's the only time on this show so far where I've not been impressed by it looked like a set.
Mm-hmm.
It absolutely looked like a soundstage that they had dressed up to look like a planet surface. I was not hugely impressed by that. It immediately jerked me out of everything. I was like, oh, they're just walking around a soundstage. Like they're very good about not doing that in the show. And so I think I'm kind of with you. Like, I don't know, man. I just want you on the damn ship. Like, you're on the Enterprise. Be on the Enterprise and do cool shit on the Enterprise. Like, what are we doing on this planet for the whole episode? Performances were great. Acting was top notch. And having it like carry over from a story from the original series, from the cage, aka also the Menagerie Part 1 and 2, fantastic. Love that shit.
And they put them in a cage.
Hey man, gotta make
You
sure.
know, yeah. I was like, really? Yeah. Like they make a point of saying, okay, we got to get to this encampment because we're not going to survive the freezing cold out here. And then they put him in a cage outside all night.
And they just wake up in the morning and they're like, yeah. Like Pike's kind of like doing one of these, like, oh, I'm a little cold, but otherwise, no ill effects for being out exposure all night long.
Yeah.
And then but I will say, and it wasn't much, but they're teasing Mabenga out this little bit at a time, and each little new morsel really is getting me in. Like, Mabenga's slowly turning into like my most intriguing character.
Yeah. So there's a throwaway line that Mbenga makes when he picks who's going to go on this away mission, and Mbenga goes, "Oh, so you needed people that can handle themselves without a phaser." And then I was like, "But you're a fucking doctor. What do you mean handle yourself without a phaser?"
As we saw in the second episode, that brother was in the Klingon War, and he was not a doctor in the Klingon War.
Yeah.
So
it's definitely more than meets the eye.
I get the sense that he's like a warrior who kind of maybe went a little too far with it, and to rein himself back in, he decided to become a healer instead, like go the exact opposite direction. It's a story as old as time. That's what I'm getting from Mabenga. But I still want them to flesh. He needs an episode of him. Like, he kind of got one last season with the D&D episode they did last season. Like, that was his episode, but that didn't get into the meat of who he is. Sorry, go ahead and spoil something. Yeah, do it.
Yeah, I'm gonna not as in I'm gonna spoil a fact, but I'm gonna like a spoil as in a spoiled apple. Do you think that Mbenga is gonna die to make place for McCoy eventually?
I guess
you think the plan is to eventually kill him off?
I don't know, because that would entail that we got to kill everybody off that's not the original crew. Like, does that mean Ortega's dies? Does that mean that everybody that is that? Because I mean, people get moved around on ships all the time.
Sure.
So it could be that a lot of them end up being reassigned or get promoted, so then they get reassigned to another ship. It literally happens all the shit. They tried to do it to Riker 3 times on Next Gen. He just wouldn't take it. So I hope. You know what, man? I'm really invested in Mbenga now. If they kill him off, I'm gonna be upset. I'm not gonna. Thanks for that, man. Like, that didn't even occur to me. You did spoil the fucking apple. Well done. I quit. Well done. That's not cool, man. No. Please don't kill Mbenga. Please kill some of the rest of them before you kill Mbenga. See, and this is the problem with prequels, right? We know what happens to Pike. We know Spock's gonna be okay. We know Uhura's gonna be okay. We know we know we're going to see Scotty eventually. We know Kirk's going to be okay. Like, we know these. That's why I hate prequels so much, because we know the fate of a lot of these characters already. But you're right. People like Ortegas, people like Mbenga, people like Chapel, people like, well, I guess we know Chapel lives because I do think she has some appearances later on. But I don't know, man. I don't know.
So Nurse Chapel does live because Nurse Chapel is on the original.
She's on this. Yes. Okay.
She's
right.
on the Enterprise and is
Yes.
McCoy's nurse.
Right. Okay.
So we know she makes
Chapel
it through.
lives. Yeah.
So in 4 episodes so far, we've only had 1 episode on the Enterprise. Really, we've had 1 episode on Starbase 1. We've had 1 episode in Toronto, and we've had 1 episode on Rigel 7. So your whole point about can we just get the crew on the Enterprise doing Enterprise shit? Like, yeah, please.
Because it felt like we had a lot of that in the first season. It felt like they spent most of their time on the ship.
And we're not getting, it doesn't seem like we're getting a lot of that.
It really doesn't.
This season.
Yeah.
And do you think that has to do with the fact that they now have access to the volume for filming? Now that they can use the new volume that they've built in Toronto, it opens them up to do environments, even if they look like shit.
It does, but do you get the sense that any of the previous 3 episodes were shot using the volume? Clearly the Toronto episode was not. Clearly the Steal the Enterprise episode was not.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess it's possible that they used it for the courtroom episode, but I don't think so. That looked like a real set.
Yeah.
So
it was a real set. It's a set from Discovery.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
It's a set that they reused from Discovery.
It would only be this episode when they're on the planet and in the room or whatever that we would get shots of the volume, right? So
true.
And I don't know, man. Like I said, if that episode today, if that was a result of the volume they built in Toronto, they got to go back and look at and do it again because that did not look good.
And you're right.
That reminded me of the classic series when they would clearly be on a movie set.
It was very original series.
Yeah.
It was very original series. It was very early Next Gen.
Yes.
Remember early Next Gen?
Yeah, same thing.
Down to a planet. It was always the same set that
of
they
course.
dressed up differently.
They just
right?
That's right.
That's kind of the feel that I got.
And I get it. You can't take your lead people and they don't have the budget. Like they're not going to throw them in like Antarctica or wherever it would be or Alaska.
No.
Like you can't really do that. You're filming in Toronto. It gets a little cold in the wintertime, but not like that. So it's not some barren winter land that they can do and film in. So yeah, I don't know. I hope
but they could have gone to like friggin' Quebec or something or like anywhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They filmed over the winter to boot. So
that did not look good.
It
really didn't. So hopefully, fingers crossed, we get back on the ship and do cool ship shit because that's what I'm here for, man.
Yeah.
You're on the Enterprise. If it was a different ship, I don't know that I would care as much, but you're on the Enterprise, not any Enterprise. You're on the original Enterprise. So be on the Enterprise. Jesus, Pike, you've got the coolest quarters that anyone's ever seen. And can we talk about how big and ridiculous Pike's quarters are? Like, holy shit. That dude has like the ultimate bachelor pad. Like his kitchen and island are fucking huge. He's got a fireplace in the middle of it. I don't even know where that cat sleeps. I think it's on a whole other goddamn set of quarters or something, man. Like,
yeah, he has a room inside his room.
Like, it's ridiculous how big his quarters are and how plush and how lavish his quarters are. Like, that's supposed to be like a working constitutional class exploration ship, not a pleasure boat that they're just bobbing around in. But that's a minor gripe here. But I really noticed it in this episode. I was like, holy mother.
Well, a lot of people have been making the same comment about the sick bay, how massive and giant their sick bay is. But when you look at the original Enterprise sick bay, it's got like 3 beds.
Yes. Yeah. And I get like budget and everything else. And to me, at least there's a reason you would have a big sick bay. If you've got to treat a bunch of different patients at once, if a disease breaks out, if there's a battle and like, you need to triage people, why does the captain need quarters bigger than my house? Like that makes, to me, that makes zero sense.
Did you also notice at the beginning of the episode when they mention that the Enterprise has met up with the USS Cayuga and blah, 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 and you kind of see them both side by side? Did you notice how one looked like it had square nacelles?
No, I'd have to.
It had refit style nacelles, even though it's clear here the USS Cayuga. By the way, Cayuga is a town here in Ontario. The USS Cayuga is a Constitution class, like the Enterprise. But to me, when I saw that scene, it looked like one had round nacelles and it looked like the other one had rectangular nacelles.
No, what it's got, so I'm looking at it now. So what it's got is it's got like fin stacks on the
Okay.
back of the nacelles that make it look like it's squared off,
Okay.
but it's just got these fins. It's a cool detail, 100%. It's a very cool detail.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like I said, I watch all these episodes on my computer, so it
you can
does
just
give
go-
me, because I'm a nerd. That's why.
Well, you
I
are a
want,
nerd,
like,
but hey,
the best picture and the sound and the
aren't we all nerds? Aren't
we
all?
sure are. Yeah, I think we're both in agreement on this one. Rarely do we ever agree on these episodes, but this was a middling episode, and it felt like not a filler episode per se. Well, no, kind of a bit of a filler episode. And that's the problem when you get into
Well, they're
episodic
all
television,
filler
right? That's what I
episodes,
mean.
right?
So, like, you can't have every single. I remember when back in the day, a bit of a digression, watching Babylon 5, and because that was a network show, there were like 23 episodes in a season. And I remember J. Michael Straczynski, who is the creator of Babylon 5 and wrote out the entire plot of the show. He would be on message boards responding to fans, because that's what we had back then, kids. All we had was message boards. And he would be talking about, like, fans would be giving him crap, like, oh, this just felt like a filler episode. Where were the plot elements? And he's like, I can't make every single episode a plot heavy episode. The show would be over in a season and a half. You have to bump this stuff out for network television. Now, this isn't network television. There's only 10 episodes in a season, but it can't, something earth-shattering can't happen every single episode, because then you won't appreciate when something earth-shattering does happen. So I get the need.
So you're right.
For middling style episodes to help build tension towards the bigger reveals and the bigger things that happen. But like, if I were to go back and rewatch key episodes from this season, I would not rewatch this one.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There wouldn't be any motivation for me to rewatch this one, because I know this is a one and done. Even though it's a cool throwback and a nice little Rigel 7, like, that part was neat. That it was a callback to the cage and the menagerie. But at the end of the day, does anything that happened in this episode really matter? Probably not. Long term?
No, I don't think so.
No,
I don't think so. And I want to make sure that, you know, the people watching understand I'm okay with episodes that don't really matter in the long run.
Same.
I'm totally okay with that,
Yes.
where something happens and it's never even explored again. But you got to make sure the episode's good, right? Like,
and by the way, I still thought it was good. I just didn't think it was great.
Yeah, fair enough.
Right?
Fair enough. I just worry that when you only have 10 episodes a season, if you're starting to make mediocre filler episodes in a 10-episode season, well, what the hell? Like, I can understand when you've got 26 episodes to film that, sure, you might have 3 or 4 or 5 filler episodes here and there, but
right.
You got to be careful with that stuff now that you're only giving us limited amount of episodes.
No, you're right. No, you're absolutely right.
Like, so
you're absolutely right.
Now, again, I don't want people to think I hated this episode. I didn't hate this episode. I thought it was fine. It just wasn't great for me.
Right. No, agreed. I think we're like, I would give it a solid, like, 5.5, 6, probably around there. Right?
Yeah. Definitely the weakest episode of the season so far for me.
Yeah. Okay.
The weakest so far this season. The courtroom being my favorite.
The time travel.
You know what? Maybe we'll put them in order of our favorite at the end of the season. But
right.
So yeah,
leave it on that.
That's gonna be it.
We have our podcast.
We do.
So we are recording this Thursday at 7. So guys, whether you're watching this, whenever you're watching this, please make sure after you like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and throw us a comment, please make sure you tune into the podcast every single Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, only here on YouTube and on Facebook through the Geeks and Co channel. It is live every single week. You don't want to miss it. So I'm only saying this right now because in less than 2 hours, we're going to go and do that. So you don't want to miss it. You want to make sure that you tune in. We're coming up on our 100th episode. We're very, very excited. So let's do it, kids. Get over to that podcast.
Spend, the hour watching us here on YouTube. You can also listen to us on one of your favorite podcast platforms, including Spotify and Podbean. Geekboutique.podbean.com. Go check us out. I think that is going to be it for this week's episode. For those of you who are going to be watching the podcast tonight, we'll see you then. Otherwise, stay geeky, everybody, and we'll see you next week.